Hello! This tutorial is going to be focused on cube map renderers. Let me head on over to that right now as the library loads. So you might notice right now that this building and that building over there it's reflecting the environment a little bit. But by default, the reflection that you get is a little strange. It will use the default skybox that loads up in a level, and if your level doesn't do that, it's gonna take like it's kind of hard to explain, but it's gonna do what the cube map renderer does, and I'm gonna explain what it does, but it's gonna make a cube map renderer in like wherever the last place that your car was, or wherever the last place the camera was within your level. If you don't have a cube map render, I'll explain what that means a bit more after I explain the cube map render. Just remember I said that. Alright, so first things first. I'm gonna put in the cube map renderer. Yeah, I can just search cube map. And this cube map renderer will act as a 360 degree camera. And it will be used as the image, or rather recording, however you want to say it, for the reflection of any object in the level that uses reflections, instead of like doing whatever defaults thing it defaults to. And to exemplify this, I need to put some stuff around this cube map renderer to give it stuff to reflect. So I'm going to be placing a lot of stuff around here so you can clearly see what it's reflecting. So give me a moment as I do so. Maybe I can move that road slightly further away. I can do like a bit of a... Yeah, and then it just keeps going up. Alright, and I'm going to place a cube on both sides of it. Again, I'm doing this just to make sure you really see its reflection. Symbols, get a cube. I'm going to go to the properties, randomize all the values. I'm going to make sure that these cubes themselves don't reflect. I'm going to disable their reflects, because I don't want them to reflect. I just want them to be there to be something to be reflected. Alright, that's fairly large. Let's go on the other side and randomize all values again. That is exceptionally bright. There we go, it's better. Very weird textures, but don't worry about it. I'm doing this so it can reflect it and look well, and reflect it. That's all I wanted it to do. And then I'm gonna a few more things I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna extend the road a little bit more because I can and I want to. So I'm gonna attach that to that. I'm gonna duplicate this road again, flip it around, give that a 180, put that there, that like right there. And I'm not gonna worry about the caps just now because I need to explain things. Car spawner. So the cube map renderer is supposed to, do that whole camera recording / screenshot for the reflection, but you might notice that it's not really doing that right now, and that's because in the editor you have to load up the level first and then come back inside the editor if you want to see it within the editor. But I'm gonna save and load it up, and the cube map renderer should be working right now. I'm gonna see if you can see it on this building a little bit, how it's kind of reflecting the texture of one of the objects right there. You can see it. The other building over here should also be showing some reflections. You can see it a little bit on this side, and you can see the planet being reflected up the top right there. So let's look at it in the editor. Let's see how it looks in the editor right now. So notice how the reflection is a little bit different, and it's because the cube map renderer is, well, placed right in this area right here where it's going to reflect these weird colors. And that's like basically how it works. So going back to what I was talking about in the beginning, so yeah, by default, imagine that there's a cube map renderer placed like in the middle of the level, at the very center, and it uses the default skybox. That's what's going to be used by default if you do not have a cube map renderer placed anywhere in your level. Or instead of using the default one, it might use wherever you last left your level editor camera. That's where the default cube map renderer might be in your level. Or it might use the last position of the car, like say if you played the level and then restarted it, or maybe not restarted, but reloaded the level, it would just use the last position of your car as the default cube map renderer. It's a little strange that it does that, but I'm saying this because if you do not have a cube map renderer placed, the reflections in your level might be very unpredictable, and it might seem a little weird. And if you don't really care about your reflections, it might not matter, but if you do, you might want to have a cube map renderer placed. So if you have two cube map renderers placed in your level, what happens instead is that any objects that have reflective properties will use the nearest cube map renderer as its reflection of choice. If it's too far away, then that's not a thing. It won't be too far away. It will always use the nearest one. So let me see if I could show that. This building will have a different reflection from this building. And you first have to load up the level again because reflections will not update until you play it. But you might be able to see right now that this building does not have the same reflection as the other one. I'm going to the editor so you can see it within the editor itself. The reflection is now different. Alright, so another thing to point out is that cube map renderers can take up a lot of space, or rather, not really space, but it can make your level load for a lot longer. Or, yeah, take longer to load, because, well, actually, I don't really know entirely why. I assume it just has to develop the image / recording, not really recording, but it has to develop the reflective images, and that takes time. It takes time in the load times, and you have to be a little wary of how many cube map renders you really put in the level. I don't know how much is too much, but I think a good number to work with cube map renderers is place up to 4 or 5. I have a level that has 5 separate cube map renderers in it. It takes a bit of time to load, but the level itself doesn't really lag, to my knowledge, and it's not too long of a wait. Like, you're not waiting for 3 full minutes for the level just to load up on your game. So I think that's a good number to work with based off of my experience. You might be able to push it even further. And that is really all I have to talk about in terms of reflections. That's basically how they work. If you want to change the color of a reflection, you always can with any object that has reflective properties. You can change the color to whatever you want. And yeah, I think that's really about it. Also be careful about where you put your cube map renderers. Sometimes you might reflect something you don't want. And other times, you can also change how something reflects. I wonder if I could actually showcase that really fast. I'm gonna try to see if I can showcase it. I need a texture that like reflects good. Maybe if I can like. And I'm kind of doing this on the spot. All right, I'm not gonna be able to show a visual for you very quickly at the moment, but if you change like your bump strength to, I think it's like -1, you could flip the rotations, not rotation, you can flip the reflection of like what is being reflected on that specific object. This will only really work on simples that have these properties, but you can do that sometimes. It doesn't work every time, I've noticed, but just something to note. And that's all I have to say. So now you know how reflections work, and you can use them within your levels. Just gonna extend this a little bit. right there.